Hello, and welcome to the Argyle HR Solutions Expo, live look at cutting edge tools. My name is Nick with Argyle, and it's great to have everyone joining us today. A couple of notes before I turn things over to our esteemed speaker. First, a quick reminder to stop by our sponsors' virtual booths at any time during today's event and for the following week. Our partners are committed to providing you with valuable content and a great overall experience. At any time during today's event, you can visit their virtual booths from the main agenda page, which include complimentary materials, information, and meet and greet opportunities. Thank you again for joining us today. Now, let's get started. Without further ado, I would like to introduce Wagner Danuzzo, speaker, leadership coach, advisor, and author of Leading to Succeed: Essential Skills for the New Workplace. We are excited to have Wagner for his opening keynote presentation titled Reengineering HR, a systems approach to value creation in the digital era. Welcome, Wagner. Over to you.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today. This is a topic that is going to be pervasive in 2024. So I'm excited to be here because there is so much for us to discuss. Reengineering HR is part of our functions transformation. So hopefully after all the demos that you had today, you're going to start getting acquainted with so many transformative capabilities. I think what's important is to start thinking, how can we think about value creation in HR and follow the business so we can be really serving the business before anything else? So I'm going to start by talking about what actually Malcolm Gladwell said very nicely. Transformation isn't about improving. We do that on a daily basis. It's about rethinking. How can we rethink our processes? How can we rethink our programs and the way we engage our people? So keep that in mind. Transformation is a little deeper. And I think what's going to happen is that Gen AI is coming to really challenge us to think about what is it that we need to think about. And one of the things that I think is very important for us to question is, do we see Gen AI as an artificial intelligence that's alien to us, or it's basically the collective intelligence that we acquired with so much knowledge globally? So when you think about the positive impact of having a collective intelligence assisting you, I think that changes everything, because now you have access to information, you have access to data, you have access to new ideas and new practices. So I want you to start thinking that collective intelligence is a way for us to democratize leadership, for us to share our data, and for us to also start giving people access. I'm going to give you some examples because I'm a part of Samudra Group, and it's a think tank, and we have board members, CEOs, HR leaders, and we just had our annual conference, Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think this resonates with a lot of us. But if you take a look at the examples they give, the use cases, there was a customer service reps use case. They cut their training for new customer service reps from 6 months to 2 months. So right there, you can see that 4 months of work in training has been reduced tremendously. And they save 200,000 hours a year. So you can see that using AI, using the collective intelligence that we have available to us, actually can decrease time to value. Now, when you extrapolate to onboarding, for example, imagine what we can do with onboarding. The whole experience of the candidate, pre-employment, and at the time of onboarding, you have all this available to you, which expedites everything. So keep thinking about that in terms of time saving, because capacity is an issue today, and we need to think about that. The other one is BCG. BCG did a use case with Gen AI, helping consultants to create their PowerPoints, to create their presentations, their pitches, and their proposals. What they found is that, yes, all their performance went up. But you know what was the most valuable insights? Is this one here. High value to less experienced folks. What BCG found is that the highest value was extracted by the people with the least experience. Think about that, because knowledge workers, consultants, senior leaders, of course, we have so much in our repertoire. But the person that's early in career, the person who is entering the workforce in this stage where everything is changing, it's important that we give them access to a lot of this good information right away, because they are the ones who are going to benefit the most. The other one, the insight that's interesting, is that human capabilities are still really important. We are not discarding the idea that humans are the ones who strategize and create the architecture of our technology. But there's a scarcity of deep, large language models talent. So when you think about AGI, when you think about LLM, when you think about Gen AI, you need an architect, you need an engineer, you need to think about the data sets that you're going to use and all that. APIs is a really complex environment when you start thinking about Gen AI for the business. But I want to leave you with this. The AI superpowers right now, what we can utilize in HR is finding information. And if I ask you, I'm sure you say, I don't know. Where do you find the policy on leave of absence, for example? Where do you find policies for things that are not on a daily basis, that you don't need on a daily basis? Most employees have difficulty in finding those things, because in HR, we create PDFs, we create centers, we create platforms, but sometimes it becomes fragmented. So the first thing that AI can do for you is consolidate information and create very fluid and frictionless experience for your employees. Create content. Yes, AI can create content, and you can edit and you can clarify things much better, because sometimes we don't know how to express and communicate everything we need to communicate. So AI is there to help. Analyze data. Data analytics is so important. I think that's something that you already use in HR, workforce analytics, but it can help you with the strategic workforce planning when you're thinking about skills for the future and all that. Write a code, we know that, and automate processes. This is really important, because think about our processes in HR. Talent reviews, talent identification, when we do performance management, all the annual cycles could be automated in a way that people know beforehand what to expect, people know where to find the data. So HR can greatly benefit from all this. But we need to think about one thing. Everything starts with the value that we drive from organizational capabilities. So let me explain. In the past, we have job families, job architecture, and things were somewhat stable. So we know project management, what you need, the job family is very clear, the skills, but now things are changing. So for example, to create a fluid or a frictionless employee experience, that's an organizational capability. And we have frameworks now that helps us identify organizational capabilities for the business. There is a client of mine that worked on creating a frictionless customer experience. They had several business lines. And at the end of the day, the capability was to integrate all the information. So clients, when they call, they don't need to be transferred according to each business that they are part of. All the business, all the environment is integrated. So that's a capability that creates a customer experience that's frictionless. That's the organizational capability. Then you have these four areas of the capability that we need to be very comfortable with. I think this is upskilling for HR. Technology and platforms. When you have a capability, you need to understand what kind of technology do we need, APIs, integration, platforms that clients and ourselves and reps can use. And they decrease time to value because they have at their fingertips all the information they need. Org design and new ways of working. For example, in this company, there was back office operations, there was a lot of fragmentation before reps had the opportunity to use the information with the clients. Now, if you think about org design of the future, we are flattening the organization. We are organizing ourselves in a way that's more fluid, more agile, and time to value is a critical component of this. New ways of working. I think you agree with me. In 2024, we are in a year of transition. In this transition, HR is at the center of the business growth. Why? Because we can ignite new ways of working with teams, cross-functional teams, design an organization that has less layers, so decision-making is closer to the client. So you can see HR could really be a partner of the business and create the organizational capabilities and all the elements that go with it, including processes and workflow, because we will see with technology advancements, you're going to see a great opportunity to do process reengineering, and the workflow is going to be simpler. So if you take anything from here, believe in the simplicity as your best weapon against complexity. Complexity continues to grow in organizations. And the last one is squarely on HR and how we enable our managers, our leaders, to work with our employees on identifying the roles, the skills, the expertise that they have. In a capability, for example, in the frictionless experience, the roles becomes the client rep becomes a client advocate, for example. Is a different role. It's not just a rep, it's an advocate, because could be an upselling opportunity, could be somebody who builds relationships and goes from transactional work to relational work. Skills is not just one skills, but the skills in communication, skills in interpersonal sensitivity. All this requires HR to be on top of things, and the expertise that sometimes is a cluster of skills. I hope you understand that organizational capabilities are going to be in the middle of our transformation. We need to be comfortable with them and identify them in the business so we can recreate the environment and recreate our processes. Now, the biggest one, this is really important. HR systems need to be integrated. So we have systems of record. We have HRIS, we have Workday. Many people have Workday, or could be SuccessFactors, could be another one, could be an up-and-coming startup that's offering you a systems of record. But as systems of record, I think we know this. If you've been HR for a long time, you know this. It's very hard to have accurate data for global companies and global employees when there is so many contractors and all this. In 2024, you're going to have to be comfortable with this one, because the systems of record have to account for teams that you bring from the outside to accelerate product development, for example. A lot of companies are doing that. They bring engineers, technology architects, and UX designers. They come from the outside, they rapidly design and develop products, and they move on. But the systems of record, I think we need to start thinking differently, should be open to the ecosystem of our talents. And by that, I mean the independent talent that's out there, the fractional workers. Today, the workforce should be a composition of all these talent pools. If you think about it, we would be much more valuable and profitable if you fully utilize all talent pools to create value for the organization, stakeholders, shareholders, and the customers. So systems of record is still a challenge for us, but we need to get it right, because the data sets, accuracy, and organizing a system where there accounts for all these workforce pools, I think this is really important. Then you have systems of insights. Some people have companies that help them with this. Qualtrics, Perceptex, you have Vizier for workforce analytics. But it's really critical to think about your systems of insights as a system where you, as a human leader in HR, could come with hypotheses. I think it's important to know that analytics don't give you much if you don't have a hypothesis to prove. So systems of insights need to be integrated with your systems of record, but it needs to be integrated with systems of engagement, the systems where you keep your skills, and the whole architecture of HR should be part of this integration. Systems of insights are very important right now, because we have descriptive, the reports, we have predictive capabilities, and now we are going to go into prescriptive, which is going to be really critical in the future. And especially for big companies, CSDR is the new reporting requirements in Europe about ESG. and includes a lot of reporting, disclosures on your talent dynamics, on the diversity, dynamics on attrition, who are the people who attrit, who people who you hire. So you're going to have to be prepared because in 2025, 2026, in Europe, you're going to be required to disclose. And the systems of engagement, I think we always forget about this one. Systems of engagement are so critical because we could minimize the time that people spend trying to figure it out things and find things by having a systems of engagement like a telemarketplace, for example. You can create a telemarketplace and exponentially accelerate the information, the data, and the actions that you want your employees to take. So I want to stop here and talk about for 1 minute before we go into questions. Telemarketplaces, what do? They help us create capacity because of clarity. I love to say this because it's true. Clarity creates capacity. Think about the time that employees spend trying to figure out where the company is going, where the strategy, what's the direction. Are we coming back to work? Are we staying hybrid? There is so much time that we spend just trying to figure it out things. Perfecting PowerPoints. We spend hours perfecting PowerPoints. Systems of insights when we have employee listening, for example. We have to spend hours on end try to figure it out, the data, who belongs to where. There is the hierarchy sometimes doesn't work very well, and we have to manage things. We have to massage the message before it goes to executives. There is so much that we do that actually transparency would cover all this, and would having access, direct access, would be so much easier. So some companies are giving direct access to reports and things like that to managers and leaders. So they themselves have a dashboard. They themselves can find the information they need. Telemarketplaces. I don't know how many of you have been there. I implemented one in 2019 very successfully. It's critical to have an engagement platform like a telemarketplace because that's where your employees know how to analyze their skills against the market value skills. Is where they have opportunity to access opportunities for employment within your organization using their skills. They have the opportunity to identify gaps in their skills to get to where they want to go. And they can find the people with the skills that they need for the organization's initiatives. Think about this. Telemarketplaces create a whole new dynamic where if a business unit needs the skills that are scattered all over the other business lines, they don't have access to that until we have a telemarketplace where everything else is out in the open and transformative. I think telemarketplaces are really important to have. So last but not least, and then we're going to questions. Embrace the new HR, the new environment, and the new workforce. I say flip because we have to flip our minds and thinking differently. Let's think about transformations not being improvement, but transformations being rethinking. Focus on organizational capabilities because one thing I'm going to give you a cautionary comment here. Some companies that I talk to, they go straight into, we are going to revolutionize our skills architecture. We are going to revolutionize our taxonomy. We are going to revolutionize job architecture. By the time you start organizing yourself, you're already outdated. So trust me, HR needs to go where the value is. Identifying the business, where the highest value opportunity for the business to grow. Focus on those capabilities, focus on those skills, focus on those ways of working, different organizational design. Because if you're trying to, what I say, try to buy a library just because you're looking for a book, it's not really productive. So focus on value. Where is the value spots? Lead collectively. Because nowadays, if you tap into the collective intelligence of your people, you're going to be much ahead. And team up, because that's a really important piece too. Innovate and simplify. If you can just simplify processes, eliminate steps that we don't need anymore, HR needs to be much more business-like and more focused and sharper. And place people over process. HR is very focused on the 3 Ps, as I say, policies, processes, and programs. Actually, let go of programs that are not working. Let go of processes that just creates more work and try to put people over processes. So I leave you with that message there. Now, questions. I think we have a few minutes before questions. I want to tell you this too. HR leaders, HR professionals are so well equipped to do this transformation. Why? Because we know human capabilities are really important. We know how important it is to create an employee experience where people feel excited about doing the work that they're doing. You need to work with managers. This is not about management development, but I was the head of leadership in management development for a large company for many years. And managers are the most important group that you can focus on this year. Why? Because they are paying attention to the mental health of your people. They are paying attention to the performance of their teams. They are trying to figure out how to make the employee experience more manageable with hybrid and non-hybrid. They're trying to figure out where the company is going, especially now with layoffs. So managers not only are the most critical people, critical leaders in your organization, but they need your care as well. If you need to focus on any segment, focus on managers this year because managers need direct access. If you do this transformation in technology architecture for HR, you're going to be so ahead of everybody else. Managers having direct access to the information for their employees, having things that are simpler to manage will greatly improve the manager experience. I think we talk so much about the employee experience. We need to start thinking about the manager experience as a critical piece of our sustainability. Let's think that way. Then we have to think about equity, equity of opportunities for everyone, equity, diversity, belonging. People, and there was recent research, and this is good to know, recent research shows that people who are in underrepresented groups, they start feeling that they belong in a group, in a team, in a meeting, when they see at least 30% of themselves in that group. So think about that. An employee will not feel comfortable being the only one in the team if they are the only one. They are going to start feeling that they belong when they see others, a representation of 30%. So I love that because that gives you a sense that diversity, equity, belonging is not just representation. It's about creating a community that is representation in numbers and representation at all levels of the organization. So I would love to answer some questions because there are some questions here. Of course, look, my last slide is self-promoting, but I don't know how to do this well. But I wrote a book. It's about leading because I believe leadership is everyone's business in this transition. And it's aimed for the early career entering the workforce because I believe cultivating leadership skills from the beginning of our career is the best solution for you to be successful because we tend to give leadership development for people when we appoint them to leadership positions in management. That doesn't make any sense. We need to create leadership capability from the beginning of their careers because teams are the new unit of value in organizations. So if you have teams, you have each member as a leader of themselves and leading the dynamics that bring the team to fruition. So my book's about that, and hopefully you enjoy it. But let me answer some questions. What innovative approaches have you seen companies adopt to improve employee experiences? Well, number one, what I've seen is when you include employees to solve for their experiences, you're going to see engagement ratings up because employees need to feel a sense of agency. People are trying to regain some control over their lives. We cannot deny the last 5 years, but people are still trying to gain control. They're still trying to gain a sense of safety. So the best way to do it is to bring them in. I have a company that, for example, performance management, they actually ask 200,000 people for their opinions. What should we assess you on? Where, how frequently, and all that. That was amazing. They had 88% adoption because in the first year, because they kept talking to the employees about what they need, what they want, and how they want to be assessed. It was amazing. So you have to bring employees together to help you innovate. Innovation from the top never works. Everyone talks about building a future-ready workforce. Yeah, that's true. Can you share what does that mean and how we can assure future success when we are knee-deep in keeping up the current workforce needs? Thank you so much. I don't know who said that. Thank you so much for realizing and recognizing this. The first thing we need to recognize is that capacity is a limitation that we all share. We have capacity limitations. So what is the antidote here? Is to simplify the work. Ask everyone in the organization to start identifying things to let go. Because I know you're knee deep, because you're dealing with attrition, you're dealing with reorganizations, you're dealing with grievances, you're dealing with mental health issues, you're dealing with actually bad behaviors because emotionally people are having a hard time. So it's not fair to ask for you to do yet another transformation when you're already immersed in a transition. So let's take this year as a transition. When you think about the future-ready workforce, all you can do is to give them access to information, give them access to what capabilities you're trying to build, give them access to the skills that are most valuable in the market, give them the talent marketplace, give them options to start creating their own destiny, because that's the best you can do. Question number 3, how is technology reshaping intelligent workflows for HR leaders? What have you seen that's real-time saver? Actually, there is a lot there. There's so many companies coming up. I do advisory for startups. There's so many HR startups that is not even funny. But there are many who are creating the ecosystem where through the collaboration tools, you have access to AI and skills. Microsoft launched Viva a few years ago. Now they have the copilots. There's a lot going on in that space. But the idea is, if you're going to put cross-functional teams and teams together in initiatives, that team should have access to data, to information, and to all the AI processes that you need. But the workflow, it's really tricky because most workflows are kind of legacy workflows, and we have been doing the same thing for a long time. You need to convince employees that finding ways to facilitate and simplify the workflow is to their advantage. They are not losing their jobs because of the workflow, because a lot of people are saying, oh, but if I don't do these steps, what's my job? Your job is to rise above and start creating value at a different level of value creation. That's what's going to create success for you. There is a lot of people talking about this. A lot of people are talking about AI is not going to take your job, but the people who use it well might. And that's true. AI is a capability. Gen AI is a capability that we cannot escape. And I think it's going to be greatly beneficial for us to embrace the new technologies. I think we're almost out of time, but if there's another question, I would answer. How can HR leaders better align HR strategies with broader business goals? Oh, that's a good one. Also, what are some ways to help the workforce better understand that there is an end goal related to internal changes? I love that one. So, number 1, aligning our strategies has to be a value-driven alignment. So align to where the business strategy is leading you. So let me just give you a 3-step. First step, understand the strategy of your organization. Step number 2, a lot of people skip this one, is what are the organizational capabilities that are going to bring that strategy to fruition? People forget about that. From strategy to talent, strategy to outcomes, you have organizational capabilities in the middle. So when you talk to your leaders in business, as HR partners, for example, talk about, okay, what's the strategy? Oh, to increase market share. Where? What kind of products? Who is the client? So what is the capability here that you need? You need a capability to solidify this thinking about your strategy. So HR strategy, business strategy should be one and the same when you talk about organizational capabilities, because you bring the talent, you bring ways of working, you bring the management systems that help the business create the capabilities. I think this is really important. Now, trying to understand that there's an end game to change, I have to be honest, there is no end game to change yet. We are in a transition period that we need to figure it out through experimentation, innovation, failures, and try to figure out what fits for your context. Because context is king. It's not about best practices in China, Japan, Europe. If you're in the United States, in a completely different industry, don't go for best practices. Create your own best practices by bringing people with you and saying, hey, it's not that the changes, we don't know where we are going. We know we need to change and evolve. The destination is going to be the outcome of the great work that we're going to do together. I think that does it. Nicholas, anything else?
No, that should do it. Thank you so much, Wagner. That was
You're
an excellent
welcome.
keynote. And I want to thank everyone else for joining us today. This session, along with all of today's content, will be available on demand following the event.